Hi, on Wildlax Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Well, it kind of looks to me like, maybe I shouldn't have saved my, or, exited my game after last episode. I didn't realize that it wasn't gonna let me, actually, when I'd done it, I thought, you know what, I bet this is going to, delete my quest completely. And instead it turns out that, yeah, it just reset it. So, I didn't get to complete. And I've got an inventory full of stuff. So, kind of need to head back. Gotta go back home. How far is home from here? It's like a long ways, isn't it? I could put stuff in my inventory, but I'm afraid that it will, I'll get killed, and then it's like a million miles out here, right? So I think I'll just take the stuff back, and maybe come back out and try again. Except I'll just have to leave my game running and complete the... see if I can't complete the whole mission in a couple of episodes, maybe. So yeah, it's, I don't know, it's been a few days, definitely since I've been on here. I watched through, pretty fun anime that makes me kind of want to go read the manga, um, called School Live. I'm a big fan of zombies, and uh, I occasionally you'll come across a zombie anime, and I don't even know what I was looking at, but something brought up this anime called School Live, and I was like, ooh, that sounds like my kind of thing. It was students trapped in the high school after the zombie apocalypse starts. Now there's another anime called High School of the Dead. I think is the zombie one, High School of the Dead, which I thought was pretty good. It's very fan servicey, which I'm not as big a fan of, but the zombie stuff in it is excellent. And um, and so I'm always, looking for good zombie stuff. Um, and so I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna check out this high school. No, I'm gonna check out School Live, School Live, and yeah, it was pretty good. So spoilers for School Live. I guess the manga is a bit different from the anime itself. Um, and but basically it's these students are trapped inside the school. I don't know if they're trapped. They're not trapped. They live inside the school. They've managed to cordon off, barricade off a few rooms on one of the floors, one of the upper floors of the school, and the roof. And there's definitely something weird going on with their school that the show doesn't really delve into, but the zombie outbreak may have been a government project, because their school was designated as one of the shelters, but nobody made it there. And so it has some weird stuff like solar panels on the roof, but not just like a couple of solar panels, like a whole solar panel power station on the roof of the school. It's got um, I assume it was meant to be like a feeder pond. There's like a whole pool thing on the roof that was designed to be a self-sustaining ecosystem for fish. Um, there was uh, a water filtration system that pulled water from underground water source and cleaned it to use in the building itself. And so there's a lot of stuff like that that a normal building wouldn't have. Not all together. Well, you shouldn't have run out underneath me, bunny. And uh, so yeah, so it basically followed these characters at the school. I'm I'm saying characters because I'm gonna give another spoiler warning because there's some pretty good twists that made me really like it, and I didn't want to just blurt into it in case somebody's like, "Ooh, I want to hear a synopsis," and then, "Oh, this sounds good, I might want to watch it," because it's an ender game situation. uh, so big spoilers. I really, really dug the first episode. Was so good. Um, I wasn't really digging it at first because it's like I wanted to see them trying to, survive at this school, and the episode was like from the point of view of this character. I want to say her name was Yuki. I don't think I caught the one character's name. They went around and introduced the characters at the beginning, and I only remember Yuki's like the one they follow the most, and then there's a girl. Was her name Ree? And then one was like me, and then there was a fourth one, and then there was a teacher with them that was Megumi, and then there was a dog with a fairly long name that I don't remember exactly what his name was, and so they were in the first episode. Um, Yuki gets up, takes care of the dog, and she's talking about how her club it has camped out at the school overnight, and then she goes to class, and so she's in the classroom, and I'm like, okay, it's weird that she's like when she wakes up and she's in one of the school rooms. I'm like, okay, so they're in the zombie apocalypse. And then she's feeding this dog, and I'm like, okay, so they got a dog in their zombie apocalypse. But then she goes to class, and everybody's just normal. I'm like, are they just running normal school during this zombie apocalypse? Like, this is ooh, 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 ooh. This is weird, right? And so she goes to class, and then uh, me, I don't remember what her actual name is. Yuki calls her Mimi, I think. Miku. I think her name might be Miku. So it might be Miku and Riku. I don't remember. I'm terrible with names. So Miku shows up at the classroom door and stands there looking at Yuki. And so then Yuki asks if she can go to the nurse's station because she doesn't feel well. And so she leaves the classroom, and then Miku says, like, the dog's gone missing. And so she's like, oh, well, I'll help you look for him. And so they go looking for this dog, and then I thought it was weird because Miku just, like, rips open one of the classroom doors, and everybody turns to look at her. And Yuki is like, "No, you can't just tear open the doors like that. Class is going on." And so I'm like, "This is so weird." And so as it goes on, they find the dog and they get the dog back, right? And then Yuki goes back to class. Um, and so then they switch points of view to one of the other girls, and one of the other girls goes to get Yuki, and because when Yuki got back to class was over, and all the girls were just standing around talking, and so Yuki's talking to one of the girls and telling her about the dog, and the girls stand there, and she's wearing a choker, and um, and then this other girl, I think it was Yuki maybe, comes, or not Yuki, it was Miku, comes walking to the door, and when she looks in, she sees Yuki standing there in the middle of a destroyed classroom covered in gore, talking to herself. And when they pan down and show the top of the desk next to her, um, you can see that that girl's choker is torn and laying on the table where Yuki is talking to, empty air. And I was like, oh yeah, no, this is good. This is good. This girl is snapped and sees the world before, but not the world now. I like it. I dig it. Uh, and so yeah, so turns out Yuki's a bit crazy. Um, and the rest of them are trying to keep her safe. Because she's like their tie back to reality. Well, not reality. Their tie back to the pre-destroyed world, and so yeah, I was digging it, man. It was pretty good. Okay, well then you can go in there. And so then over the course of the next uh, the rest of the episodes, I think it's like 12 episodes. They um, show different flashbacks to what had happened and stuff like that, and how some of the characters met up, and another interesting one was the Riku. She sees all the zombie people as, ooh, I am 11% infected here. And so she, I wish I had more. I've gotta learn to make med kits. Do I have enough points to unlock med kits? I got 2 points. What's that under? Physician. Let's see. Okay, let me check here. Okay, so it is physician. All right, well let's throw a couple points into physician then. Okay, let's throw 1 point into physician. Because apparently I need level 6 intellect. Wow. So what didn't unlock? I've got first aid bandages now. And plasters, and it did not unlock my first aid kits, though. Fine. So, yeah, over the course of the rest of the show, they show, like, they show where they go when they find, um, Miku, who was hiding out with her friend at the mall, and then the friend left her, and, and didn't come back, and how they'd gotten the dog from this old woman who was at the mall when the zombie attacks started. And I figured pretty early on that the teacher who was with them, Megumi, was probably not there as well. But some of the interactions they did made it seem like she might be there. But when people would say something and not respond to her, and then she would tell Yuki that she was tired of being ignored, I'm like, no, I think she's probably dead too. But then they had a scene where they like told her to go off with Megumi for class. But that was just them, playing into her delusions. And so you do find out that like Megumi sacrificed herself to get the door closed so that they would be safe in their section of the school. But then at the end of the show, Riku, who sees people as shadows, she sees zombies as shadows. I don't know how many of them see them as shadows. I feel like they all see them as shadows. And so when Riku's their fighter, she carries a shovel that she uses to kill zombies. But occasionally the shadow will slip and it freaks her out. And so they do find the government shelter underneath the school. And but Megumi's, because the zombies are like instinctually, not instinctive, but they're like kind of like Shaun of the Dead. They're still kind of attached to their previous life in weird ways. And so because Megumi was actually part of this whole thing, she had gone down to the shelter as a zombie. And so when Riku went down there, Riku freaked out and got bit by Megumi. And the dog also got bit, and they managed to get their hands on the cure that was in the government shelter and fix Riku, but then the dog died. The dog actually saved Yuki, but they gave it the medicine too, but it wasn't designed for dogs, and so it basically had a seizure and keeled over dead. But it was kind of weird because at the end of it, Yuki came out of her thing and her delusion, and the zombies attacked the school, and they knocked over this pole that went through the batteries for the solar setup, and so destroyed their power station basically. And then the school switched over to emergency power, and so Yuki got on the broadcast system and announced that school was over. And when she did that, all the zombies left. Because they were still attached to their normal routines a little bit. And so I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And yeah. The manga apparently follows them in a more individualized stories, and so each chapter is more about a specific thing. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to read the manga. I need to look to see if the manga has a bigger story. I know it does have a slightly bigger story because there's this other location they mention that they're gonna head to, and it seems like that might be in the manga. But I didn't see it in the show itself, um, so I don't know how much bigger the manga is than the show. I've got to look that up yet. Um, I watched Megan. I thought that was okay. It wasn't as dumb as I thought it was gonna be, but it definitely wasn't spectacular. Uh, and I don't remember the name of it, but a long, long, long time ago, I had watched this thing where this dude built a robot companion, and the robot companion got jealous of him getting a girlfriend, and basically was the exact same thing as this movie, but done in a more horror way. And I don't know, it Megan felt a little like a tame version of Child's Play, right? You've got the companion for the kid. It starts killing the people around the kid. You know, I felt some of the acting was weird. Um, I don't feel like the so spoilers for Megan. The little girl was good. I thought she did a good job as her character, but there were a couple of okay. There's a scene where she is not good in, and that is where she blurts out that her parents are dead in an interview after she's attached to this robot and is like on camera for the like they bring her in to show the robot off to the CEO of the company, and then she just like in the middle of that, like supposedly starts being upset about her parents being dead, but it was such terrible acting and crying. And it was out of nowhere, and I don't feel like the sister, her aunt, ever reacted to the fact that her sister was dead. Like it was so weird. They were so detached from anything that was going on in the show, and the robot was decent enough, but there were some I don't know. It was a little weird. Like she grabs this kid by the ear and she pulls, and then the kid's ear stretches out like a foot from the side of his head, and I'm just like, yeah, so that wouldn't work. I don't know. I don't know why you even had that in your movie. Like, it was so because she does tear it off. So why didn't she just tear it off? I don't understand the whole stretching it out because it takes away from the realism of the movie. I mean, it's obviously the movie's not real, but it takes away from the rest of the movie. Tries to seem like it's realistic, and then there's this weird scene I don't understand. At no point in the show is there like some kind of TikTok thing or anything like that where they're dancing together. And then for whatever reason, Megan comes walking out and sees the boss of the ant and just starts dancing a little bit in the hallway for no reason. Like I don't understand what that was for. Um Apparently it was just to have a viral dance for people to do on TikTok, I guess. I don't know. But it had nothing to do with the show, and I didn't appreciate that. And then like they got this dumb. It's not dumb. I don't know. So the ant is supposed to be like this robotics genius, and one of the things she built, she calls a robot, but it's not a robot, and it's like this remote operated I don't even know what you want to call it. It's like a robot shape with arms and hands, and you remotely operate it. She called that a robot. She gave it a name and stuff, but it doesn't do anything unless you're controlling it. So it's not a robot. It'd be like calling my guy in the game here a robot. He's not a robot. He's the character I'm controlling. So I thought that was a little weird to keep calling it a robot. And it did play a fairly important part in the show, but it still wasn't a robot. And and so it's weird that she's like, "Oh yeah, that's my graduate robotics um robotics wow, my brain just quit. What's the word I want? That's my graduate robotics thesis project. There we go. Project is the word I couldn't remember. So yeah, it was okay. It wasn't anything major. I'm sure they'll have a sequel because one of the guys downloaded the files and sent them off because he was, the wow. Apparently my brain has quit. Corporate spy. I was trying to say espionage, and I knew espionage was not part of what I wanted to say, and my mouth tried to combine corporate and espionage at the same time. It don't work, and it's not what I wanted to say. But yeah, so it was okay. I don't know, man. It wasn't great. I didn't expect it to be great going in though, so it was better than I thought it was going to be, but it was still pretty dumb. I could have understood the dancing thing if it had danced. Also, like, sometimes I watch this stuff and I feel like the people involved in the writing and acting and directing have never operated anything in real life, and so they've got no idea how things work, and they think that it's a thing, but it's not, and so it just comes across as really really bizarre when you see it in a movie. And so like there's this part where they're like using a power washer on this woman, and I'm just like, yeah, her power washer to wash her sidewalk and stuff. Oh look, there's the first aid kit schematics that I needed. Couldn't get that 5 seconds earlier, could I? Hey, while I'm here and you're giving me schematics I don't have, how about you pass over that steel stuff, huh? Because I'm still trying to find anything related to steel production. Also, I ran out here to do this quest, but now I think that it's probably going to be too... Ooh, it got really radioactive in here. Where'd you come from? Remember when the cops used to explode? Do they not do that anymore? Alright, so I got one more story to tell you here. I skipped ahead a little bit here, but I'm going back to my base. There's no time today to finish this off, like I said, so... Ooh, I bought a bookcase for my board games because I have a lot of board games, and I don't really have any place to put them. I used to put them in the storage room, but the storage room is now full of other things, and I can't easily get in and out of it. And so, I have a gaming table that I've got set up with some lights over it and stuff to do things like board games, and so I want to put them next to that, but on this big bookcase I bought, like huge, like 4 foot by 6 foot. I think is what it is, and basically it's 2 sets of 6 foot tall shelves, right? And problem is I can't get to them because they put up Christmas decorations, and when they put the Christmas decorations back before Christmas, they just dumped all the storage boxes in the middle of the room down here because they don't use this area, and it's a little irritating. But that isn't the most irritating part. Most irritating part is this. I get the bookcase. I tell my sister what it's for. I tell her I just need them to take down the Christmas decorations, right? So what the deal is we used to play a lot of board games. Not a lot. We used to play board games regularly. It used to be a once a week thing or once every other week thing. and it stopped completely. I don't know why, but they don't seem to want to play anything ever anymore. And so and then on top of that, like our friends who are into board games, they're like, yeah, we should do a weekly board game night. And I'm like, yeah, I've got an area set up, I've got chairs, we got I've got all these board games. I can get them set up before game night starts. Um, we can play the same board game over. I've got cool ones where you like make characters, and your characters get more powerful as you play through the games. I've never been able to complete one. It'd be really cool to see as we go. How it does. And they're like, oh, we don't really have time to do board game night. My brother was like, yeah, we should all get together every week and play board games. I'm like, yeah, I've got all these really cool board games. Well, I thought maybe you'd come over to my house and we'd play them here. I can't pack up this kind of board game. We're talking like 2 hour sit up before you play the board game on some of these because I got to remember where things go and I have to go through the rule books again because it's been so long since I played them. I don't remember exactly how everything works and it's just better if you can. Well, it's such a long way to come over to your house. What? So yeah, so board game nights stopped happening, or the concept of board game nights stopped happening. The problem is I bought a bunch of games off of Kickstarter, um, bunch of big RPG fighting monsters and dungeons kind of board games, right? And a lot of that stuff takes a couple of years after you order it before it gets to you because they have to go through the whole production process. And so I'm now getting my board games that nobody wants to play with me. And so I need some place to put them. Uh, Most of them you can play by yourself. So it's not that big a deal to me that nobody wants to play them. I just can't get into my games because I don't have some place to put them. And so they end up in these big stacks. And because they're in the big stacks, I can't easily get to the one I want to play, or I don't have a place to put away the other ones. And like a lot of games come with expansions. So like I've got Hero Quest, right? One of my favorite board games of all time. Well, they re-released it. I got that. Well, now I've got the 4 expansions that have come out for it, right? So that's multiple boxes I need someplace to put. So I bought this bookcase. And then they did the Christmas decorations. And then they dumped their boxes down here. And so so I'm like telling my sister, I'm like, yes, I got this bookcase and to put all my games on, and I think it'll make it easier to get to my games, blah blah blah, right? And the thing is I need you all to remove the Christmas decoration boxes out of the middle of the floor. I need you to put the Christmas decorations away because it's January what, like 10th today or something, January 11th, and she's like, oh yeah yeah yeah. So this is last week. She's like, oh yeah yeah. I'll get to it. Probably this weekend. We'll get all that stuff taken care of. And I'm like, all right, cool. And so I don't know if I showed you guys this, but I redid the roof. I flipped some of these around so they're actually coming in from the other direction. You can kind of see how this is on this block, but this one is on that block, so that I could fill in these corners. I put down tables and some things, a barrel here and this picnic bench. I don't know why, I just felt like doing a little decorating one day while I was doing some other stuff. But yeah, anyways, so this weekend comes through, and my sister, basically anything that's a flat surface in our house gets used to store things. All of us do it. Um, the problem is that for most of the things, probably shouldn't be stored. Probably should just be taken care of. And so they have boxed in, covered over several kitchen chairs with stuff, and so instead of taking down the Christmas stuff, she decided it was a good day to clean up the chairs, um, but not all the chairs, just these particular 4 chairs, 2 of which were broken that they were supposed to fix. Instead, they decided just to throw out. And so I have a chair at the table that's to the right of where I normally sit when we use the table. The thing is that there's not enough room between where I sit and the wall for someone else to sit. So it's just a chair shoved up against the wall. And it's in between the table and the robot vacuum and a cabinet. So there's not enough room for someone to sit there, but there is enough room for me to use that to store board games. And so it's stacked pretty tall with board games because don't have a place to put board games, which is why I bought the bookcase. And so, like I said, I just need them to take down the Christmas decorations. So instead of doing the Christmas decorations, she cleans out these chairs that are along this island in our kitchen. Basically, they dump their stuff on the island, and then it gets pushed off the island into the chairs, and so the chairs are stacked up with like boxes of papers from school and mail that's never been opened, and coats that people have just taken off, or scarves and thrown on the ground, and then I pick them up, put them on the chair so that I can run the vacuum, that kind of stuff. And so she cleaned all that out, and then she says to me, and this is the irritating thing. This is more irritating than the dumping of the boxes. She says to me, "Are you gonna find a place to put those board games?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Are you planning on taking those board games out of the kitchen here, or do I need to find a spot to store those board games up here?" Now this chair has had board games in it for like 3 years now. It's my house too. My name's on the deed, same as hers. Uh, I'm pretty sure I can store my board games there if I want to. But she's like, you need to find a spot for your board games, or do I have to find a spot for them? I'll tell you what, how about you find a spot for those Christmas decorations that are stopping me from putting up my bookcase so that I can put up my board games like I told you I was going to do? What do you mean, do you need to find a spot to store my board games? I already told you what I was doing. Does no one listen to me? Seriously. Alright, well, with that, be brand small things, lean on the light. I will talk to you later.